Welcome to No Spellenzolder, and this time I want to take a look at La Stanza, published by Quinit Games. It's a game for 2 to 4 players which takes about 60 to 90 minutes to play. And in this game every player takes on the role of a man or woman in the Renaissance period, trying to obtain as much prestige as possible. And you do this by competing with the other players on certain disciplines like literature, art, politics. The one who obtains the most prestige points at the end of the game will be the winner of La Stanza. Mind you, the game I have here is still a prototype, so the art and pieces as well as the rules may vary from the end product. But let's have a look at what's inside the box. The game is designed by Tuno Bizzarro Sentiero and Paolo Soledade, and we get the rules in the English language. Here you can already see what the final components are probably going to look like. The rules themselves, they're clear with good examples and they're easy to read through. We get the different meeples, the components for each player in their own color. We get the character tiles, the financial tiles, the bonus tiles. We get the books and the starting player marker, some meeples. We get the player boards themselves, and we get the main board with the different disciplines in which we are going to compete with each other to gain victory points, prestige points. That's what we get. Let's set up a game. And this is how the game is set up. Every player chooses a color, they get their own player board, all the pieces in their own color. Every player starts with one meeple in each of the 4 colors. You get your set of 5 starting characters in the 5 different colors, and you can recognize them by the fact that there's an S at the back of the tiles, which the regular tiles do not have. You get your starting bonus tile, which is placed here on the bottom left corner. Randomly pick a starting player, give them the starting player marker. They get 10 coins, and then going clockwise everybody gets 1 extra coin, so number 2 gets 11, 12, 13, etc. Every player places a marker in their color at the start of each of the 5 tracks. You place your ship, which is not yet a ship in my prototype, here on the starting space with the 7 coins. You get a meeple in your color here at the bonus room, and here in the religion room you place a marker on this space here in the center. You organize the books in color as well as the meeples and the art tiles, and finally we have the bonus tiles which will be placed here. This is the round marker. The game takes place over a number of rounds equal to the number of players plus 1, and after the final round every player gets another 3 turns, and then the game is over and we will tally up the score. The one with the most prestige points will be the winner. And finally we shuffle all the character tiles and place one on every space on the board except for the one in the bonus room. The remainder of the coins will be within reach as the general bank. But that's how we set up the game. Let's start playing. The game is played over the duration of a number of rounds equal to the number of players plus 1, as I explained, and after that every player gets the opportunity to perform 3 more actions. A round ends when there's a refill, and a refill occurs when 2 of the 5 disciplines have no more character tiles in them. You'll just refill all the empty character tile spaces. You move the round marker up 1 step and play continue. So this can happen during a player's turn. But that's how a round ends. Starting with the starting player, every player in clockwise order will perform a move action with their meeple and then choose to take 1 action, receive money or pass. Starting with the starting player and going clockwise, every player on its turn will first move their meeple a number of spaces, 1, 2, 4 maximum, skipping over empty spaces or spaces occupied by other players, with the exception of the bonus space. This is the only space in the game where multiple players can be at the same time, and there will never be a tile placed there. I'll come back to that later. After movement, they will choose to perform one action, which can be take one action, receive money, or pass. For instance, I'm going to move my meeple, and you always move clockwise, as I said, over all occupied spaces, skipping over empty spaces or spaces occupied by other players. I move, for instance, 2 spaces, and then I automatically recruit the character that's there. On your player board you have 2 lines. You have the recruit line and you have the worker line. The worker line, they will dictate the power of your actions in the various disciplines. The recruit line, those are the new characters you can recruit in order to change your power of balance. If you fill up a row completely and you recruit another one, you just move everything to the right, and if something falls off, if it's a regular character, it goes to the discard pile. If it's a starting character, it's removed from the game. After my movement, I'm going to take one action. I've ended up in the discovery discipline, the blue discipline, so I'm forced to take a blue action if I want to take the action, which means I'm going to move on this financial track. The amount of steps I can move, and this action works with a number of steps, depends on the amount of blue characters I have in my worker row. For now that's just 1, so my action would have a strength of 1. Before I perform the action, I can move characters from my recruitment line to my worker line. I have to discard one of the active characters, this one for instance, and then replace it with one of the characters from my recruitment line. I have to pay the cost depicted on top of the position, which is 2 coins, and there we go. And now my strength in blue has increased to 2. If I have several characters in my recruitment line, I could move several of them to my worker line before I perform my one action. To take one action, you just calculate your strength in the discipline. This is the blue discipline. I've got 2 characters, so my strength is 2, which means I get the second action that is 2 steps on the financial track. If you have a higher strength, you get more steps, or you can even get a masterpiece. I'll come to that in a sec. And that's your turn. Alternatively, instead of taking the action of the discipline, you can receive money. You do this by moving your financier 1 step on your worker track, which will automatically push one of the characters off. It's a starting character, so it will be removed from the game. And then you get to refill your money to the amount depicted on the financial track. So now I'm at 9, so I refill to 9. Given the fact that I still have 8 coins, that would be a bit of a waste, especially since I can only perform this action a certain number of times. So as soon as this financier is at the final space, I can take the action 1 more time by flipping it over. Then it will be worth 5 negative points at the end of the game, and I can refill. So you have to be careful to use this at the right moments. And the last action is passing. You just recruit the character and you say, I'm done. And then the next player will go. They will move their marker, recruit a character and perform an action, receive money or pass. Let's have a look at the different disciplines and the actions they provide. In the discovery discipline, you're going to move your boat along the financial track in order to get more money when you perform the receive money action, or and at the same time obtain more victory points at the end of the game. Depending on the strength you have in the discovery color blue, you'll get to move 1, 2 or 3 spaces on this track, and every discipline has a masterpiece track at the bottom. If you have a strength of 4 or higher, you can perform the masterpiece action. You can do this only once per discipline, and every space can be occupied by only 1 player. So for instance, if I manage to get a strength 5 in discovery, I'm going to obtain the 8 victory points depicted here at the end of the game, but nobody else can take the 5, so they'll either have to settle for the 4 or the 6, or 6 plus 1 in the color white politics. In order to get these higher numbers, you're probably going to have to use some religion markers, which we'll see in a sec. But you can only take this action once you have the masterpiece, and you still have a strength of 4 or more. You can just take the strength 3 regular action instead. Same goes if you have a strength 4, you're not forced to take the masterpiece action. You can also say, I'm not going to take the masterpiece action, I'm going to just settle for the strength 3 regular action, which will never surpass the maximum strength of 3. But that's the discovery. You're just going to advance on this financial track. This is the literary discipline. Here you can buy books, write books actually. Depending on your strength, 1, 2 or 3, you get 1, 2 or 3 books. If you get multiple books, you'll have to choose different colored books. So if I get 3 books, I have to choose 3 different colored books. And if you get books, you place them on your own bookshelves on your player board. You place them from left to right. And if you place them on a square with an icon, you get the depicted bonus. This is the religious discipline. Here we place markers on these squares, depending on the number, on your strength. You can place any number of markers on those. Again, if you place multiple, they have to be placed in different sections. And you can remove these markers to add +1 to your strength. For instance, I would like to up my discovery strength. I place a marker here, and when I perform the discovery action, I can remove this marker to get a +1 strength. This section is the art discipline. In the art discipline, depending on the strength, you will get a sculpture, scripts, or a painting. These art pieces, they have a base strength, 2, 3 or 4. And you're going to collect art to put in a museum. And at the end of the game, every museum will be scored, and the most powerful museum, the one with the most art points, will receive 17 bonus points. The number 2 will get 12, etc. This is the political discipline. Here you can recruit meeples. Again, depending on the strength, 1, 2 or 3, you get to get 1, 2 or 3 meeples. If you get multiple, you have to choose different colors. And the meeples can be used in order to perform a different colored action. For instance, if I'm over here, I should be performing the political discipline, but I could just discard 1 green meeple to perform the religious discipline instead. And that's where you can use the meeples for, and the meeples are also used for the bonus actions. The white meeples are wild, which can be used for any color, including the political ones. And finally we have the bonus room. As I said before, this is the only square on the board where multiple players can be at the same time. If you end your movement here, you can pick any of these bonus tiles if you meet the requirements. For instance, I would like the blue one. To get the first blue bonus tile, I'll have to be at the financial track at the first white meeple marker. If I'm at that point or past that, I can take the first one. I'll have to pay 1 blue meeple to get it, and I'm going to place a marker in my own color to indicate that I've taken one of those bonus tiles. And these bonus tiles, they provide you with a one-time bonus which you'll get instantly. They can give you a permanent bonus, or they can help you score at the end of the game. But that's how the game is played. On your turn you move your meeple, and then you may perform 1 action, receive money or pass, and then the next player will go, and when 2 of the 5 disciplines are empty, we refill everything, we move the round marker, and we continue. After the 5th round, the 5th refill I should say, every player is entitled to 3 more actions. You could choose as your first action, for instance, to pass. When you pass now, you place your marker on these pass bonus prestige points. First one to pass will get 5 bonus points, but this will mean you will not get the other 2 actions you're entitled to. So that's a bit of a gamble. Depending on what your options are, you might want to use your 3 actions to the max to get more points, or you would just gonna pass and take these bonus points. After everybody has passed, the game is over, and we're going to go to the final scoring. Everybody will get points depending on the masterpieces they have acquired. They will get points depending on their position on the financial track. They will get bonus points depending on the books in their bookshelves. They will get prestige points from the passing bonus, and if they have required any of these two bonus tiles, they also provide extra points. And at the end of the turn, we're going to look at the museas of every player, so you're going to tally up the strength of all the art pieces you've collected. The player with the most strength will get 17 points, the number 2, 12, 8 and 5 for the last one. And the same goes depending on the number of bonus tiles. The player with the most bonus tiles will get an additional 15 points, and the number 2 10 points, etc. In order to get any of these museum points or bonus tile points, you do have to have at least one bonus tile and or one piece of art. Otherwise you're not entitled to get those points. If you've flipped your financier at the end of the game, it's a 5-point deduction. You'll tally up your score, and the one with the most prestige points is the winner of La Stanza. And that's how this game is played.
Not Spellenzolder.